Nicole Kidman has made her first public appearance since her split from Keith Urban.
We've been through a lot together.
We've got a timeline for it now, and the time is.
She walked onto the Oscars stage in a custom Chanel gown, smiling like nothing in the world could touch her. But within minutes, the internet was on fire. "Something is off," one fan wrote. Another asked, "Is that even her face anymore?" Nicole Kidman, one of the most recognized women in Hollywood, had suddenly become the center of a debate she never asked for. This wasn't about a movie. It wasn't about an award. It was about her face and what decades of fame, heartbreak, and pressure may have quietly done to it. For years, Nicole was the woman every studio wanted: flawless skin, fiery red hair, a presence that filled the screen the moment she stepped into frame. But somewhere between the red carpets and the headlines, something started to shift. Fans noticed it slowly. Then all at once, and the timing made it even harder to ignore. This appearance came just months after her marriage quietly collapsed, a marriage millions assumed would last forever. So what really happened to Nicole Kidman? Is this simply the natural toll of aging in front of millions of cameras? Or is there something deeper, something far more painful hiding behind that camera-ready smile? To understand this moment, we have to go back. Back to where it all began, long before the fame, the heartbreak, and the whispers that follow her to this day. Nicole wasn't born into Hollywood. She grew up in Australia, tall, pale, a little awkward, nothing like the typical image of a future movie star. But she had something impossible to ignore, an intensity in her eyes that made directors stop and look twice. By her early 20s, she was already turning heads. Then Hollywood came calling. She landed a role opposite Tom Cruise, one of the biggest stars alive, in the 1990 film Days of Thunder. Within months, they were married. Overnight, Nicole wasn't just an actress anymore. She was half of the most watched couple on the planet. For the next decade, her career soared. Magazine covers, premieres, an image of grace and quiet strength that the entire world fell in love with. To everyone watching, she had it all: fame, love, a family with 2 adopted children, a fairy tale playing out in real time. But behind that picture-perfect image, the cracks were already forming. Being married to one of the most powerful men in Hollywood came with a price few people ever saw. Nicole has since admitted that life inside that marriage wasn't what it looked like from the outside. There were rules, there were expectations. There was a faith in Scientology that controlled far more of her world than fans ever realized. She smiled for the cameras. She gave the interviews. She played the role the world wanted from her. But privately, something didn't feel right at all. And then, in 2001, the fairy tale shattered in a way nobody saw coming. No one expected this kind of ending, not for them. Nicole found out her 10-year marriage was over, not through a quiet conversation, not face-to-face, but through a legal fax. 10 years gone, delivered like a business memo. She has said that moment broke something inside her. She wasn't just losing a husband. She was losing the identity she had spent her entire adult life building around him. The divorce exploded into one of the most talked-about splits in Hollywood history. Cameras followed her everywhere she went. Headlines speculated about what really went wrong behind closed doors. And underneath all that noise, Nicole had to quietly figure out who she even was without the marriage that had defined her. But here's what almost nobody knew at the time. Because of the custody arrangement tied to her ex-husband's faith, her 2 young children would stay primarily in his care. For a mother, that kind of separation cuts far deeper than any tabloid headline ever could. She has spoken since about feeling lost during this time. Physically present at premieres, smiling for photographers, but emotionally somewhere else completely. The woman the world saw on the red carpet was fighting a private war the cameras never captured. She threw herself into work, choosing darker, heavier roles, almost like acting was the only place left where she still felt in control. But just as she started rebuilding, something else was happening to her that the world wasn't ready for yet. While her career quietly climbed back to the top, Nicole was carrying a pain she rarely spoke about. A desperate hope to become a mother again, this time on her own terms. She went through round after round of fertility treatment, loss after loss. Miscarriages she has only opened up about years later with visible pain still in her voice. Each failed attempt chipped away at the strength she had worked so hard to project to the entire world. At the same time, her love life became public property. Every date, every rumor, every photo with a new man dissected and debated by strangers. As if her entire worth came down to one single question: when would she finally find love again? Then in 2005, she met country star Keith Urban. It happened fast, almost too fast for someone still healing from so much loss. Friends worried, critics doubted it would last. But what nobody expected was how hard Nicole was about to fight for this one. Because just months into their relationship, Keith entered rehab for substance abuse. The news broke almost overnight. Most people assumed this was the end before it had even really begun, but that's exactly when everything took a turn nobody saw coming. Nicole stayed. She has said she saw something in him worth holding onto. But that choice came with a quiet cost only she truly understood, and decades later, it would resurface in a way nobody could have predicted. For years, their marriage became one of Hollywood's rare success stories. Two people with painful pasts somehow building something that actually seemed to last. They welcomed two daughters through surrogacy. They smiled through countless red carpets, looking every bit like the fairy tale Nicole hadn't found the first time around. But behind closed doors, the pressure of two massive careers, constant travel, and years of unspoken tension was quietly building underneath the surface. And then in 2025, the news broke that shook fans to their core. After nearly 2 decades together, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban were divorcing. There were no warning signs, no leaked arguments. No rumors leading up to it. One day they were a unit the entire world admired. The next, it was simply over. Fans scrambled for answers. Was it distance? Was it old wounds resurfacing? Was something deeper finally boiling over after years of staying silent? True to form, Nicole said almost nothing publicly, choosing privacy over explanation. But the timing made everything feel heavier. Because just months later, she would step onto the Oscars stage for the first time since the divorce became public, and the entire world would be watching her face for any sign of what she was really feeling underneath. What happened next turned a simple red carpet appearance into one of the most talked about moments of the entire year. When Nicole arrived at the 2026 Academy Awards, she wasn't even nominated. She was there as a presenter, dressed in a custom Chanel gown as the brand's newest ambassador. It should have been a simple, glamorous night. Instead, it became something else entirely. Within minutes of the first photos circulating, comment sections exploded with speculation about her face. Some called her stunning. Others said something looked different, tighter, unfamiliar. The debate spread fast, fueled by side-by-side comparisons pulled from decades earlier. Nicole has never confirmed undergoing major cosmetic surgery. For years, she has credited her appearance to skincare and lifestyle, even admitting once to a brief experiment with injectables that she quickly abandoned because it affected her ability to act. But online, denial rarely satisfies anyone. The speculation kept growing, turning a night meant to celebrate her career into a referendum on her looks instead. And then came the moment nobody expected. Ewan McGregor, her co-star from Moulin Rouge 25 years earlier, joined her on stage. The two shared a warm, nostalgic moment, even breaking into song together, pulling the audience straight back to the young actress she once was. For a few minutes, the chemistry, the memories, and every year in between collided in front of millions of people watching live. It was beautiful. It was bittersweet. And it left fans wondering just how much had truly changed for Nicole on the outside and underneath. But the most surprising part of this entire story wasn't her face at all. It was her resilience. Through a public divorce, a painful custody arrangement, years of fertility loss, a second marriage that ultimately ended too, and constant scrutiny over every inch of her appearance, Nicole Kidman never once stopped showing up. She kept working, she kept evolving. She kept choosing roles that challenged her instead of ones that simply kept her comfortable. Today, she stands as one of the most respected actresses of her generation, still landing major roles, still walking red carpets, still facing cameras that have quietly watched every chapter of her life unfold in public. Whatever the truth really is behind her changing appearance, one thing is certain. Nicole Kidman has survived more heartbreak than most people will ever experience, and she is still standing in that spotlight completely on her own terms. So what do you think really changed for Nicole Kidman, her face, her life, or both? Do you think the public has a right to scrutinize her this closely, or has Hollywood gone too far this time? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear your honest take on this one. And if you love deep, emotional Hollywood stories like this, subscribe and turn on notifications because we share a new one every single week and you won't want to miss what's coming next.